What up, everybody? What up, everybody? What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of AC Reviews the World. I am your host, AC the Engineer. We are at episode 105. Yep. Welcome back to the greatest afternoon show in the world. At least that's how I feel. You don't have to feel it. That's all that matters is how I feel. But hopefully everybody had a beautiful day. It is Friday, January 9th, 2025. It's the end of the week, y'all. It's the end of the week. And like always, we got a lot of crazy things to talk about. More people. The world is a crazy place. The world is a crazy place, but some people saying it's not the world. It's just the people in it that is crazy. But hopefully everybody had a good day. Remember, y'all, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. But you know how I like to do it? Let's jump right into it.
Sensational.
Yes, sensational. So the first thing we're going to be covering today is it's more federal agent shootings. Yes, more federal agent shootings. So we're going to go over to Portland, where we have the Customs and Border Patrol Portland shooting. So we're going to hear about that and what all this situation is about. At the end of the day, this is why I like to stay out the way. But let's get over into it. Let's see what we can learn from the situation or how we feel about it. But let's jump into it.
Protests in Portland after another shooting involving federal agents, this one leaving 2 people hospitalized. DHS says the agents opened fire yesterday after the suspects tried running them over during a traffic stop, saying the 2 are linked to Tren de Aragua, but city and state officials want a full investigation and more details. News Nation's Laura Engel is live with more. So, Laura, what do we know so far?
Hi, Nicole. Yeah, we've got another shocking scene playing out on a city street in America. 2 people shot by Border Patrol agents in Portland, Oregon, during what officials have said was a targeted traffic stop of a vehicle carrying 2 alleged gang members. Now, DHS has identified the suspects as Luis David Nico Moncada and Yorlina Betsfet Zambrano Contreras. Federal officials say the 2 are linked to the dangerous Tren de Aragua gang and that both are in the U.S. illegally. Now, they allege that Contreras is also connected to a prior shooting in Portland. And similar to the incident in Minneapolis, officials say the agents fired in self-defense after the vehicle lunged in their direction. In a statement, Homeland Security says, quote, when agents identified themselves to the vehicle occupants, the driver weaponized his vehicle and attempted to run over the law enforcement agents. Fearing for his life and safety, an agent fired a defensive shot. The driver drove off with the passenger fleeing the scene. And just as we've seen in Minneapolis after the ICE-involved shooting, the mayor of Portland is calling for all immigration enforcement operations to just halt while an investigation moves forward in his city. Take a listen.
Portland is not a training ground for militarized agents. When the administration talks about using full force, we are seeing what it means on our streets. The consequences are not abstract. We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past.
Now, I don't know if you can consider this a training incident or however he tried to word it. If it is true that now we don't have to get into if they're gang members or not, but the only thing that matters is when they identified themselves or when the officers identified themselves, did they try to run the officers over? If they did, simple as that, then I understand why he's shooting. So that's pretty much all I care about the situation. So yes, an investigation needs to be done. Should you halt all their efforts? No. Just do the investigation. And if they're trained professionals who went through the proper training, then we got to go with what the investigation pulls up. But let's keep going.
And you can guess it, overnight there were protests outside of the Portland ICE facility too. 6 people were arrested by Portland police, and according to multiple law enforcement sources, the Customs and Border Protection agents were reportedly on an operation called Operation Oregon when they stopped the passengers of the vehicle. The FBI and Oregon state officials are now investigating the case. We continue to monitor the situation. Nicole.
Right, Laura Ingle live for us there in New York. Laura,
Now, I understand why people are protesting because they're upset about what's happening. But how can you protest a situation when you haven't even learned the facts of it? They still have to go through an investigation about what's happening, but I guess they already feel like they know what happened. But let's get over into this next video and see if we can learn any more information about it.
It is 7:30. We do have breaking news just into the newsroom. We have just learned the identities of the 2 people who were shot by Border Patrol in southeast Portland.
According to the Department of Homeland Security, the driver was Luis David Nico Moncada. The woman with him was Yorlenis Betsabeth Zambrano Contreras. Fox 12's Mackenzie Richmond joins us now with more on this shooting. Mackenzie?
Well, I'm live right now at the scene of the shooting where it took place here at 2:15 yesterday afternoon or around then. Now, here in parking lot is exactly where it happened. We're at OHSU's Adventist Health Hospital campus right now. And more than 12 hours later, you can still see that this is where the shooting happened. And there's an active scene here with 6 security guards on standby. You can see one of them there in front of the medical office's front door. Now, it was here at the scene yesterday that the Department of Homeland Security says Border Patrol agents were conducting a targeted vehicle stop of Luis David Nico Moncada, who they say is an illegal immigrant from Venezuela and is a suspected member of the Tren de Aragua gang. Now, DHS says when agents identified themselves, Moncada then, quote, weaponized his car and allegedly attempted to run over law enforcement officers. That's when an agent fired shots. Moncada then took off from the scene with a passenger in his car. She's been identified as Yorlenis Betsabeth Zambrano Contreras, now also an illegal immigrant from Venezuela, and an alleged member of the Tren de Aragua gang. Portland police confirmed both of them were shot and were found several miles away outside an apartment complex with apparent gunshot wounds. They were both then taken to the hospital, and we don't know the extent of their injuries. But once this news broke, neighbors in the area gathered at the scene of the shooting, saying after months of protests and now a shooting, they want federal agents out of the area.
We've had the protests downtown, but I don't know that, you would think that it would come up to a building like this here in our neighborhood.
That was Catherine Church. She was heading to a doctor's appointment here when she drove up to see dozens of officers blocking off the parking lot. She said it was startling to see, and she actually had to be escorted into her appointment. Now, at this point, there are still so many questions that are left unanswered. There is an active investigation underway by the FBI and also by the state of Oregon. Of course, once we learn more, we'll bring you those updates both on air and on our Fox 12 app. But for now, reporting live, I'm Mackenzie Richmond for Good Day Oregon.
All right, Mackenzie, thank you. Investigators say the 2 people who were shot fled the scene and ended up at an apartment complex near Northeast 146th and East Burnside. And that is where Fox 12's Leah Kaminad joins us with the 911 call that came in shortly after that shooting. Leah.
I was here at the Brea apartments where the 2 people who were shot fled to and called 911. At this time, we don't know if those 2 people lived in this apartment complex or maybe lived nearby, or if this was just a completely random place to stop. That initial 911 call, we do not have that, but we have the initial dispatch call of dispatch relaying the information from the initial 911 call to police responding to the scene. Take a listen.
Stage at your discretion, police are en route. It looks like caller saying that he was shot twice by ICE and his wife was shot as well. Your top group is going to be Ops 1, Engine 7 with Medic 314 and Medic 321 with police en route. This will be a shooting at the Brea Apartments, 10 Northeast 146th Avenue. They have a male who was shot twice in the arm and his wife who was shot in the chest.
Well, to clarify some things in that call, you hear the dispatcher reference the man's wife. We have not confirmed the relationship between these two people, Luis David Nico Moncada and Yorlenis Betsabeth Zambrano Contreras. You also hear the dispatcher reference gunshot wounds to the woman's chest and 2 gunshot wounds to the man's arm. Those details have not been confirmed either. We are waiting for more details regarding the conditions of the 2 people shot. Also, the dispatcher references ICE. We do know ICE agents were not involved in this incident. It was agents from U.S. Customs and Border Patrol. The main focus of the investigation here yesterday, as you saw in that video, was a red pickup truck. FBI agents also spoke with residents who live here, many of whom had to clear out of the area as they conducted this investigation. The scene cleared out around 7:30 after that red truck was towed away. And again, this morning, much quieter scene here. We've seen a few people start to leave for work, but of course very different than what we were seeing yesterday afternoon and yesterday night. Reporting live, Leah Kamanaugh, Good Day Oregon.
Now, we have to wait for more information to come out, hopefully some video evidence, because we got to be honest. People aren't going to believe them just saying, oh, they tried to ram me over, and that's why I shot and fired to protect my life. People are going to want more evidence to come out. But we got to be honest, even with more evidence come out, that when it comes out, will people truly believe it? Or will they just say, oh, that is not what's happening? You know how people are. You know how some people are. But like I said, in general, if the person or whoever it was, if they end up trying to flee from the cops and the cop is in front of them and they don't care, they can try to ram them. They try to move around. Anything that happens where the officer feels like his life is threatened, I can understand why he took the shot. At the end of the day, if you're about to get arrested, don't run away. Don't flee. Just take your punishment on the chin or take the arrest. And if you think they're violating your rights, call a lawyer. Call a lawyer. As simple as that. But let's keep going and see what else they got to say in this video.
Leah, thank you very much. State and local leaders spoke to reporters to lay out details of the shooting. They also detailed how the city is talking with federal agencies, calling for an end to ICE operations in Portland. Fox News' Deborah Gill is joining us now in studio with a closer look at this. Good morning, Deb.
Good morning. Portland's mayor, police chief, and Oregon's governor all joined with a large group of other local elected officials and community and faith leaders, all to express their thoughts about the shooting involving federal agents. Police Chief Bob Day told reporters he did have a call with FBI's assistant special agent in charge here in Portland. He said he did send Portland officers to the scene of the shooting and that they've been in regular communication with the FBI, which is the lead on this investigation. Now, we now know who the man and woman are, but Chief Day said he was not given any information about them from federal agents. Governor Tina Kotek said she hasn't spoken to any federal officials about this shooting as of yet. She and Portland Mayor Keith Wilson gave a strong rebuke of federal agents' presence in Portland.
We know what the federal government says happened here. There was a time when we could take them at their word. That time is long past. That is why we are calling on ICE to halt all operations in Portland until a full and independent investigation can take place.
Federal agents at the direction of the Department of Homeland Security are shattering trust. They are hurting people and they are destroying day by day what we hold dear. Our sense of safety and our literal safety are severely undermined by what happened this afternoon in Portland.
State lawmakers at the press conference also said in the upcoming short legislative session, they will introduce legislation to try and limit ICE's presence in Oregon. Republican Senator Christine Drazen released a statement on the shooting. She said, quote, "I am disappointed but not surprised to see our state's politicians rush to judgment and treat dangerous criminals like victims. I want law enforcement to arrest transnational Tren de Aragua gang members and take them off our streets, end human trafficking, and make our communities safer." An investigation is underway. That investigation will determine whether today's use of force was warranted. The last thing we need in a moment like this is a bunch of grandstanding politicians exploiting the situation and inciting fear to advance their own political agendas.
100% correct. You can't make any judgments because they still have to do an investigation. There's no videotape out there that we can analyze, so we got to wait for them to do an investigation. Was the use of force warranted? That's the main thing. If the car is coming at you and you fear for your life, and then he took a shot, then okay. But even with this, people still won't listen, and they won't care about the evidence and just say that Border Patrol and ICE should not be there. But it goes to show you, it just depends on who you are and what side you're on. The world is a crazy place. Let's keep going and finish up this video.
Portland city councilors also talked to a crowd that gathered last night outside City Hall, saying they were unified in condemning the shooting, but asking people to try and stay calm and peaceful as they demonstrate. Kim and Shauna, back to you.
All right, Deb, thank you very much. Tensions flared in South Portland last night as hundreds of protesters gathered outside the ICE facility. The demonstrations came after the deadly shooting of a woman by ICE in Minneapolis on Wednesday. Protesters shouted and burned American flags, expressing anger at immigration enforcement. Portland police monitored the crowd, working to keep traffic flowing. Officers tell us 6 protesters were arrested. They say 5 were taken into custody at about 9 o'clock last night after refusing to leave the roadway. An additional arrest was made at 11:30 after further warnings.
Burning American flags. Yeah. At the end of the day, more evidence needs to come out. I don't understand, especially if you're protesting because of this recent Portland shooting. If it's just from this Portland shooting, no evidence. We hardly have seen anything. There's no video or anything about it. So how can you be against what happened when you don't understand what happened? But everybody has their own opinion and their right to express it. But as long as the protest doesn't get violent, that's all that matters. But let's go over into, how we like to go into the AI summary, so we can just see if we missed anything. But like they said, it happened on January 8th with a U.S. Custom and Border Patrol agent. They were stopping a red Toyota to apprehend a passenger. They claimed the driver weaponized the vehicle and attempted to run over the agents, prompting one agent to fire a defensive shot. So the 2 victims, like they name, I'm not even going to try to say the names, but both were Venezuelan nationals. One was shot in the chest and the other was shot in the arm/leg, and they were hospitalized. Their condition is unknown. DHS alleged that the occupants were associated with the gang Trende Awaga. I'm not even going to, if I say that name wrong, I'm sorry, the Trans International Gang and Prostitution Ring. So the Attorney General announced a formal state investigation. And then you got the mayor and the governor who denounced the shooting. How can a politician denounce when the investigation hasn't been done? But some of them aren't going to believe the investigation. No matter what, it's a crazy situation. And of course, more protests are happening from it. But you just have to, at the end of the day, do your own research. Don't just listen to someone else. Don't just listen to me. Go through and do your own research and think about how you feel about the situation. Because that's truly all that matters, is how you feel about the situation and how you think it should have been handled. Absolutely crazy situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on it and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. The world is a crazy place and it's getting crazier and crazier. That is why we need to review the world together. We're going to pivot over into our next topic we're going to be talking about today. And that is, we talked about it in the live stream yesterday, the Metro bus killing. So we look like the suspects have been arrested and appeared in court. So we'll get to see who they are, how old they are, and what they look like. A good image of what they look like. So let's get over into that and see what we can find out from this whole situation. Remember, a woman was killed and she was just an innocent bystander. So let's get over into it and see what we can find out.
ABC 13 Eyewitness News starts now.
Right now at 6, they went from wanted to captured in about 24 hours time.
Sources confirm 2 people are in custody after a deadly shooting on a metro bus. It was our breaking story tonight. And these were the images police released this first thing this morning.
A 25-year-old woman who was on her way to work, not the intended target, according to police, killed by the gunfire.
The shooting happened yesterday afternoon in West Houston on Walnut Bend near Richmond Avenue. Investigators say a teenager was also injured.
ABC 13's Maya Shea joining us live. And Maya, you have confirmed that those arrests happened just within the last hour.
Yeah, we have talked to authorities who confirmed to us within the last 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours, they've actually made these arrests. What we are being told by multiple police sources is that they have arrested the 2 individuals specifically that were pictured in those surveillance videos, one of whom they believe is, quote, the primary shooting suspect who will be charged with murder. Those charges are pending. I just relayed that same information to the mother of the young woman who was killed. She was just riding the bus on her way to work. Sources close to the investigation tonight are crediting these clear surveillance photos taken on the Metro bus as playing a critical role in quickly identifying the 2 suspects in the deadly Wednesday afternoon bus shooting. The family of Caitlin Stupp confirming she was the 25-year-old victim. Stupp was riding the bus to her job at a local restaurant when she was shot and killed. A teenager was also shot, but not seriously injured. Nearby, KJ Davis and his wife heard the gunfire and rushed to help.
She went to go see what happened because, like I said, we heard 3 shots. I heard 3 shots. I heard 1, and then I heard 2 more. And then that's when guy run from the bus into the apartments. We went to the bus to see what happened, and then that's what she said. She seen the girl, and she hopped on the phone and called 911.
Davis says he even ran after one of the suspects, hoping to identify him, having seen the 2 individuals in the area over the past few months, but never expecting gunfire to ring out.
I would never recommend, unless you're a trained law enforcement professional, to run after a suspect who just killed someone on a bus. That's just my thinking. You can call me a coward if you want to, but I'm going to leave that up to the police. I'm going to give my description, and that is it. I'm not going to chase after him because that is how you die, or that is how you could possibly die. But let's keep going. He's a brave man.
I mean, I've seen him a couple of times, but I've never just stopped and had conversations with him because, like I said, anytime I'm seeing somebody, I'm either going in my house or I'm getting on the bus to go to work because I ride the bus every day to work.
Yeah, the arrest of these 2 individuals comes as a relief not only to Caitlin's family, but also her roommates who said she moved to Texas just about a year and a half ago to work and be with her friends. Metro says it really credits the fact that all these buses have really good cameras. They say they are in the process of updating 3,000 cameras on their buses, hoping that they will be more productive as events occur so they can quickly find those responsible. For now, we're live on the west side.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation, but let's go over into this next video.
We have an update now on Wednesday's deadly Metro bus shooting that police say left a 25-year-old woman dead and a teen on board hurt. Houston police releasing the name of the man charged with murder in connection to the shooting as 17-year-old Braden Smith. Meanwhile, another suspect, 18-year-old Patrick Scott, had a court hearing earlier today. Our Ugochi Iloka joins us from inside probable cause court with the very latest.
In a hearing earlier this morning, a judge said 17-year-old Braden Smith was being uncooperative and wasn't in court. Houston police say that Smith fired first on the bus, killing, sadly, 25-year-old Caitlin Stupp. Houston police say these are the 2 suspects involved in Wednesday's West Chase neighborhood Metro bus shooting. Braden Smith, who we just told you is charged with murder, and 18-year-old Patrick Scott, who was charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon. According to court records, Scott was out on bond for a previous aggravated robbery with a deadly weapon charge at the time of the shooting. A judge set Scott's bond at $5,000 for that charge in court earlier this morning. Investigators say Smith and Scott were arguing on the bus when gunfire broke out between the 2.
I guess because remember she 10%, y'all. So she set the bond at $5,000. He has to pay 10% of that. So $500. I guess that's just the max she could give them. But some of these people with these dangerous crimes, giving them these low bonds, it never sits right with me. But that might be all the judge can do. Let me know your thoughts.
One neighbor in the area says she's been terrified since the shooting happened.
I'm scared to ride the bus by myself. I had my daughter come with me. You could bring weapons on the bus. They don't have metal detectors. Anybody can just get on the bus and kill anybody.
We're also learning more about the woman killed in the crossfire. The family of 25-year-old Caitlin Stoop shared this photo of her. Her mom says Caitlin loved photography, cats, and cooking. Friends of Caitlin tell us she worked at Sweet Green Uptown and was actually on the bus heading to work at the time of the shooting. Reporting at Probable Cause Court, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
It just goes to show you it doesn't matter what you can be doing when a random act of violence could end your life. She was just going to work, a bystander, and two people get on, have some kind of street beef, start shooting. Don't care who they hit. Don't care if it was a child, a woman, a pregnant woman. They don't care. They just start shooting. And then they'll run away, try to get away from the punishment. Luckily, these two were caught. Let's go over into the AI breakdown just so we can see if we missed anything. So like they said, it happened on January 7th where an innocent woman was shot on the Metro bus in West Houston. The deceased woman was Caitlin, what we talked about before. Shooting occurred at 2:30. She was an innocent bystander caught up in the crossfires of an altercation between two other passengers who both drew their firearms. She was struck in the head while she was on her way to work. And then we have another victim, a 16-year-old boy who was also wounded. So there's two suspects who were taken into custody late Thursday, January 8th, have been charged. So Brandon Smith has been charged with murder, and he is allegedly the one who fired the fatal shot. Patrick Scott, 18, charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon. He reportedly returned fire during the exchange, which injured the 16-year-old passenger. At the time of the shooting, Scott was out on bond for a previously unrelated aggravated robbery. They don't care. If they're out on bond, you know what they're going to do? They're going to go back to doing the same thing they was doing before. It's no, oh, well, maybe I should just try to be better since I'm on bond. I'm already in trouble. No. That's just not how they think. 17 and 18, YNs. That's what this classifies them as, YNs. If you don't know what that means, look it up. Look it up. It's a crazy world, y'all. It's a crazy world, but at least these people have been caught. Now, at 17 and 18, getting into gunfights with people because of an altercation. Now tell me, is this a product of the environment they grew up in? Is it a product of the household they grew up in? Is it a combination of both? I will never say it's 100% on the parents, but I think it's more than 50% on the parents. I think it's at least more than 50%. But it all depends on what your thoughts are. Tell me your thoughts, y'all. Tell me if you disagree with anything I said. At the end of the day, just be prepared to protect yourself. Be prepared because anything out of the ordinary can happen when you least expect it. And that whole situation can end up putting your whole life in danger because people don't care about what they do and what they do and how it can affect other people around them. They only care about making themselves feel better. The world is a crazy place. I'm gonna keep saying that. The world is a crazy place. Yes, the people are crazy. But if the people are crazy, that means the world is a crazy place too. Absolute crazy situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts on it and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. Absolutely wild. I'm happy that they were caught, though. I am happy they were caught. Hopefully they get a good amount of time. We'll see. We'll keep up with this to see how much time the actual murderer, Brandon, ends up getting. He's 17 years old. Of course, hopefully he's charged as an adult. I don't see why he wouldn't be charged as an adult. But hey, murder, no need for him to see the rest of the light. Absolutely crazy situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts. We're going to pivot over into the next topic we're going to be discussing today. The very next topic. Something crazy popped up on my timeline, or no, my recommendeds on YouTube that I wouldn't have never expected, but this is the world we live in, y'all. This is the world we live in. We got 100 stolen skeletons was found in a man's house. Looks like he was stealing it from a cemetery. There are some crazy people in this world. There are some crazy people in this world, but let's get over into it and see what we can make of this whole situation. And let's see what we can make of this whole situation. Let's jump over into it. Let's see what we got.
A case he says he has never seen before. The same sentiment from longtime police officers, including the chief in Yeadon. Now, investigators say that they believe that Jonathan Gerlach acted alone when he drove from his Lancaster County home here to Delaware County and broke into vaults and dug into grave sites. Police say the thefts had occurred for weeks at the Mount Moriah Cemetery. Part of that land is in Philadelphia. Another big part of that cemetery is in Yeadon, Delaware County. And it was Yeadon police who set up surveillance at that cemetery. They say on January 6th, Gerlach emerged and was caught with human remains in his possession. Now, last night in Lancaster County, police and the medical examiner's office searched Gerlach's home. There, the district attorney says close to 100 remains were found. He does say it's not yet known if all the remains came from the Mount Moriah Cemetery, a historic cemetery that they say has grave sites going back hundreds of years. Now the work begins to figure out who these people were and where they belong.
What goes through a grown man's mind when he ends up digging up and taking over 100 human remains from a cemetery and then leaving them in his house? Is this some kind of mental illness? Is it just, he's just crazy? What was he doing with the human remains? Did he have a fetish? There's a lot of crazy things that's going through my mind. Absolutely crazy. Let's keep going.
A lot remains to be determined at this point. They were in the basement predominantly, although as you can imagine with 100 remains, it was not as though they were in an isolated area. We don't know exactly what he was doing with them. Time will tell. They were in various states. Understand, some of these are 200 years old. Some of them obviously much newer. There's one that had a pacemaker still attached to the body. So clearly that's not 200 years old. We are trying to figure out exactly what went on in that home.
Now, we've also learned that police searched a storage locker also in Lancaster County, finding more remains there. Sources tell me that Gerlach has made some statements to police, but has not alluded to what the motive was behind these crimes. Now, the DA says that they are looking at Gerlach's social media activity, social media groups that he belonged to, and they want to know if anyone out there could have been buying, selling, or trading human remains. A lot of investigative work still to take place in this case. Of course, if anybody has information about it, you want to call the Delaware County District Attorney's Office. Reporting live.
Who wants to buy some old human remains? Is there like a market for that on the black market? Like, is it just for collectors? Who is interested in this type of stuff? Was he selling them or was he just holding them for himself? It's a lot of questions. Let's go over into this next video, see if they give us any more detail.
Just when you think you've heard it all, this case out of Delaware County might make your stomach turn. Prosecutors are accusing a man of stealing dozens of sets of human remains. This is the 10 o'clock news. I'm Jason Martinez.
I'm Sheba Russell. Investigators say they found human skulls, mummified feet, and decomposing body parts at the suspect's home. Chris O'Connell has more on the story that is.
Is it just me, or I'm thinking his home must have stank. That's just what I'm thinking.
It's disturbing on so many levels.
Delaware County prosecutors say he was a real-life grave robber straight out of a horror movie. A man arrested for stealing human remains from graves, some as young as infants, others 200 years old.
Very simply, detectives walked into a horror movie come to life the other night.
Delaware County District Attorney Tanner Rouse outlining the twisted alleged crimes of 34-year-old Jonathan Gerlach of Lancaster County.
Let's back it up. You know I'm not going to stop it too much, but let's stop it on his picture. Is this what you expect someone to look like who steals over 100 human remains from a cemetery? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I mean, you can't judge a book by its cover. So, but let's keep going.
Crimes of 34-year-old Jonathan Gerlach of Lancaster County. He's accused of stealing human remains from 26 mausoleums and underground graves at the historic Mount Moriah Cemetery in Yeadon. Some of the remains as young as infants.
Some of these are 200 years old, some of them obviously much newer. There's one that had a pacemaker still attached to the body.
Prosecutors say it was old-fashioned police work that cracked the case. After a series of grave desecrations at Mount Moriah, Yeadon police set up a sting. On Tuesday, Gerlach was arrested at the cemetery with a burlap bag full of 30 human remains,
30?
Many of them children. But when police searched Gerlach's home in Ephrata, Lancaster County, they found more than 100 human skulls, large bones, and other skeletal remains, as well as jewelry taken from graves. 8 more skeletons were found in a nearby storage locker.
Detectives have recovered an awful lot of bones at this point, and we are still trying to piece together who they are, where they are from, and how many we are looking at, and it's going to be quite some time before we have a final answer.
Those who walked through the cemetery near Cobbs Creek Park recently noticed graves being desecrated. One guy tells us this mausoleum was repaired just after it was burglarized.
We saw some graves that had been obviously opened or disturbed. Kind of hoped it was just maintenance work and stuff, but always suspected it might be some kind of, grave robbing, for lack of a better term.
Gerlach is charged with more than 450 counts on charges of burglary, abuse of corpse, and theft. Authorities are not clear what he was doing with the remains, but they are looking at a Facebook group devoted to the sale of human bones, where Gerlach was seen holding several skulls. The Delaware and Lancaster County medical examiners are now trying to date and identify all of the remains and possibly find affected families.
We all have loved ones that passed. Like, rest in peace is rest in peace. And this is definitely something that tears at your heartstrings.
Gerlach.
I can't imagine. Imagine you go visit your family member at the funeral and the grave has been dug up. And then you got this man posting Facebook pictures with the skull talking about, for sale, $20. Let's keep going.
Is being held in the Delaware County Jail on $1 million cash bail. Prosecutors say there's a very good chance he may have burglarized other local cemeteries.
Not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. This sounds like he found his own market, trying to be a businessman, an entrepreneur. They said they found him pictures on Facebook in a group for selling human remains. I'm thinking he was trying to make a big business. He loved, for some reason, that's what he thought he could make his mark in life with. It's a crazy situation. But you know how we like to do it. Let's go to the AI overview to see if we missed anything. So 100 sets of stolen remains in a home and a storage locker of a 34-year-old Jonathan. The suspect was arrested January 6th after police caught him leaving the cemetery with a bag of human remains. The search of his residence and a storage locker revealed more than 100 human skulls, along with long bones, mummified hands and feet, 2 decomposed torsos, and they described the scene as a horror movie come to life. The remains were primarily stolen from historical cemeteries, including the Mount Moriah, the one that we was talking about in the video, and at least 26 mausoleums and vaults that have been broken into since November 2025. So he hasn't even been doing this long, and he's just been going back every single night. Potential motives. So authorities are investigating the remains and the remains were being sold online. They found a link to a Facebook group titled Human Bones and Skulls Selling Group. People will put anything on Facebook. They actually named the Facebook page Human Bones and Skulls Selling Group. If that's not a red flag for the police, I don't know what they're doing. So legal status. So he faces over 500 charges, including 100 counts of abuse of a corpse and receiving stolen property, as well as multiple counts of burglary and desecration of a public monument. He is being held on $1 million bond. But my question is, what amount of time can we expect? And we just type that real in just to see if they give us an answer. Now remember, always do your own research, but this give us a starting place at least. So given the 2026 arrest, let's see, primary hearing schedule is for January 20th. Discovery phase, 3 to 9 months. Trial, mid-2028. Early 2027 to mid-2028. So his sentence often could range from 10 to 30 years, depending on the defendant's prior record. And for comparison, similar federal cases involving trafficking of stolen body parts resulted in a maximum penalty of 15 years. So he can expect somewhere around 15 years, maybe up to 30, just depending on what his prior record is looking like. 30 years. I wonder if he'll say it's worth it. And I kind of want to know how much money he was making. Because if he was selling all these, was he making like I'm assuming it's good money if he was willing to keep doing it. But some people have a screw loose in their brain. That's just how I see it. But let me know your thoughts, y'all. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. How would you feel if you go to a funeral home one day, or go to a funeral, or a cemetery? I'm trying to say, go to a cemetery one day to visit your family members, and you see that it's been dug up or broken into, and then you hear about this man selling the remains. That's a crazy situation, y'all. Let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said. His house had to stink. That's my final thought. His house had to stink. But let's pivot over into the last topic we're going to be discussing today. The last one we got. Some people shouldn't be married. Some people should not be married. It's as simple as that. So we got a man who was indicted for poisoning his estranged wife. Sounds like he sat and waited in the house to poison her. So we're going to go into that. We got 2 videos to look at, and of course we'll do the AI overview. Yeah, some people shouldn't be married. That's all I'm going to say. Some people should not be married. But let's get over into it and see what we can learn from this situation. Let's see what this whole thing was about.
Well, a man from Long Island who is accused of poisoning his estranged wife was arraigned on murder charges today.
Prosecutors say he hid in his estranged wife's home in October and waited until she was alone before poisoning her with cyanide. Long Island reporter Stacey Sager was in court for today's arraignment. She's live in Mineola with more on this story. Stacey.
Well, Dave, he's an unemployed software engineer accused of using cyanide to poison his estranged wife. And today he was back here in court pleading not guilty, but a grand jury has now indicted him for second-degree murder, and prosecutors say there's evidence to prove this case.
This is one of the most horrifying cases I have ever seen in my career.
The Nassau County DA outlining the details of a murder here on Larch Drive in Herricks, a quiet street where prosecutors say 53-year-old Asif Qureshi committed the type of murder so horrific it doesn't seem real.
Basically, he seared her lungs. She took a breath and the cyanide and just burns your lungs.
They say Qureshi lay in wait here last October until his estranged wife, 46-year-old Alina Asif, had returned home alone after dropping their children at school. That's when he allegedly placed the cyanide on a rag and suffocated her. But today in court, there was no indication Qureshi would admit to that crime.
His statements were very self-serving. Couldn't be me. I was someplace else. That type of thing.
Mr. Qureshi is presumed innocent, and he has vigorously entered a plea of not guilty on all counts of the indictment.
As the family of Alina Asif agonized yet again, seeing him in person here at the courthouse. According to police, Qureshi stalked his estranged wife for months after she demanded a divorce. Sources telling Eyewitness News there were several prior reports of trouble here at the home, including one incident in which Qureshi allegedly threatened to force Asif to swallow bleach. Shortly after the murder in October, this was her brother.
She was a very beautiful human being and very hardworking. She didn't deserve this kind of death.
But today, the family simply too devastated to speak, as Qureshi is still held without bail on second-degree murder.
No.
So you decide to kill your wife because she wants a divorce. And just leave. What are we doing? But like they said, he is innocent until proven guilty.
Comments?
Nothing at all about this case?
No, thank you.
And those were the distraught parents of the victim in this case, Alina. She also had 3 children. Prosecutors do say there's evidence in this case, surveillance video showing Qureshi leaving the house after the murder. There's also physical evidence such as latex gloves and a bag that they believe was used the day of the murder as this case moves forward in court. We're live in Mineola. I'm Stacey Sager, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Crazy situation. So they have some evidence. At the end of the day, just leave. There's no point in why kill the mother of your children. Let's go over to this next video and see if they give us any more details.
A man on Long Island is accused of poisoning his estranged wife to death moments after she dropped their children off at school. Today, that man faced a judge, and News 4's Paisley Chang is in Mineola with more.
53-year-old Asif Qureshi is accused of sneaking into his estranged wife's home, lying in wait for her to be alone, and then forcing a cyanide-laced rag into her mouth while he watched her die. Today, he pleaded not guilty to murdering her in front of his children and his in-laws. A family left court heartbroken today, declining to speak with reporters after their father pleaded not guilty to killing their mother. Defense attorney Stanley Rubin insisted the case will be decided in court, not in public.
It's not going to be tried on the sidewalk. It'll be tried in a courtroom where he is presumed to be innocent by operation of law.
Prosecutors say 53-year-old Asif Qureshi is charged with second-degree murder in the brutal killing of his estranged wife, 46-year-old Alina Asif.
I wonder why it's second degree, because as we know, first degree means you premeditated it. So I wonder why they're giving it second degree, because fatally poison somebody seems like first degree to me, but I might be wrong. So tell me if I'm misunderstanding something.
36 years of doing this, I have never heard of anything as horrific as this.
Prosecutors say Qureshi snuck into his family's home in October after his wife and children had left for school. He waited for Alina to return alone when he attacked.
He had some type of rag that had some type of, poison on it, and then had to drop cyanide right before he would put it over her mouth and hold it there for her to breathe in.
It was their 18-year-old daughter who called police to check the home when the school called her to ask why her younger sister had not been picked up. Police found Alina dead on her bed with red burns around her mouth. Before the murder, police say they had responded to the home for 5 domestic incidents.
Wow.
Qureshi was arrested once before, but no orders of protection were issued for Alina, despite police reports that she said he threatened to make her swallow bleach.
The facts of this case will emerge with the evidence as is presented by the district attorney, who has the burden of proof on the case.
Prosecutors say there are multiple surveillance videos that place Qureshi near the home the day of the murder. The victim's brother told News 4 in October,
She was a very beautiful human being and very hardworking. She didn't deserve this kind of death.
And despite their tumultuous history, police say Alina never changed the locks to their doors or the security codes to their alarms. Qureshi was not granted bail. His next court date is February 18th. In Mineola, Paisy Cheng, News.
Ladies, you have to remember, I'm going to say this, I've said this plenty of times before. If the man threatens to hit you, if he hits you, call the police and leave. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts about it. Same thing for the men. There should be no abuse in a healthy relationship. And if you are being abused, talk to somebody about it and leave the relationship. Don't wait for it to get better. It's already gone too far. At least that's my opinion. But let's go over into the AI overview just to finish it up and see if they have any more information that we might have missed. So let's get over into that and see what we can find out. So as they said, on January 8th, a grand jury indicted the 53-year-old man for the murder of his killing of his estranged 46-year-old wife. The case has been described by prosecutor as one of the most horrific crimes in their history. So the incident happened on October 17th, 2025, when prosecutors alleged that he snuck into his ex-wife's home or estranged wife's home while she was dropping off their children at school. I'm going to say this again. Why are you killing the mother of your children? But he reportedly lay in wait for roughly an hour until she returned home alone. He allegedly accused of suffocating her by forcing a rag soaked in cyanide and sulfuric acid mixture both over her mouth and nose. The medical examiner determined that she died from asphyxiation caused by inhaling these chemical agents, which effectively seared her lungs. So her body was discovered later that afternoon by police during a wellness check, which was initiated when she failed to pick up her 7-year-old daughter from school. So like they said, we got surveillance footage and there's a history of domestic violence. He was arrested in October 23rd, 2025 in Queens. And then on January 8th, he pleaded not guilty to the second-degree murder charges and 2 counts of first-degree burglary. He is currently held without bond and is scheduled for his return to court, like they said, February 18th. It's a crazy situation, y'all. Absolutely crazy situation. But if they got evidence, he needs to be held. He needs to be behind bars for the rest of his life. How can you look your own children in the eye and say, and then, I guess, lie and say you didn't kill their mother when you really did? Yeah. Ladies, leave the relationship when you can. Leave the relationship. That's as simple as that. But she was trying to leave. She was trying to get a divorce, but there were several calls for domestic violence in the past. She should have left then. It's a tragic situation. We got to pray for the family. It's an awful thing that he did this. But ladies, please leave when you can. And just don't wait for it to be too late. Absolutely crazy situation, y'all. We will keep up with this to see what he gets charged with if he is found guilty. Overall, it's a tragic case. Tragic case. Now, like I always say, let me know your thoughts on that situation. Let me know if you disagree with anything I said. All because she wanted a divorce. So he plotted to Kill her with poison. Some people are crazy. Some people are crazy. But that is it for the show today, y'all. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching now. Thank you for watching later. We live in a crazy world. And we have to review these things together. Remember, y'all, this is AC Reviews the World, and I am your host, AC the Engineer. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can be up to date on all the videos. If you ever want me to review anything, please send it over to my email. It's acreviewstheworld@gmail.com, a dot after the A and a dot after the C. Like I always say, these videos will be broken down so you can go back and watch the one you want. But that is it for today, y'all. That is the last show for the week. Remember, y'all, this is the greatest afternoon show in the world. I don't care if you don't believe me, but that's how I feel. This is the greatest afternoon show. It's AC Reviews the World. Remember it. Get it tattooed on you. I ain't gonna pay for it, but get it tattooed on you. But like I said, thank y'all for watching. Remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. You already know I gotta play that outro. But that's it for now, y'all. I will see y'all on Monday. Peace.